Welcome once more to the program. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. Let's kickstart this bulletin in Siaya County, where Professor Gilbert Ogutu, a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, has been found dead in his burial home at Wambasa village in Bondo, Siaya County. The body of the university don, who was an associate professor of church history, was discovered by his workers on Sunday at 9 a.m. is suspected to be a suicide. Central Yimbo Chief Gordon Opundo said the professor's body was found hanging from lesso from the ceiling of his bedroom. The administration said Ogutu had traveled to his home with his second wife on Friday, and they were at home until Saturday evening when the wife left for Kisumu. Investigations have since been launched into the matter, and the body of the deceased transferred to Bondo Sub-County Hospital mortuary awaiting postmortem. Come back to the city, where a man has died in a tragic accident along Langata Road near Sunshine Secondary School in Nairobi. Now, Langata Deputy OCPD John Samburo said the accident may have been as a result of a drunk driving. The driver, Kelvin Rono, was driving from Western Hotel when the accident. The officers say that the car caught fire after landing on the perimeter fence and that it is badly smashed, that it got the driver trapped in the wreckage. The body of the deceased has been moved to Nairobi City mortuary.
So sorry for this guy. Wow. It's an A350, my goodness. So sorry for this guy.
Now, away from that tragic accident, let's dive into the world of politics. Deputy President William Ruto has asked politicians not to use the Building Bridges Initiative BBI report to impose their will on Kenyans. The Deputy President said it was irresponsible for leaders to bypass the views of ordinary Kenyans, observing that the BBI should accommodate everyone. MPs allied to Ruto questioned opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga's move to call for a referendum to pass the BBI report.
Kwa sababu Kenya sio ya wanasiasa. Kenya sio ya watu wachache. Kenya ni ya kila Mkenya. Awe ni mtu ya kuuza mboga, awe ni mtu wa bodaboda, awe ni makanga, awe ni mfanyabiashara, awe ni mkulima. Kenya ni yetu sisi zote. Na hakuna mtu anapaswa kushurutisha Wakenya wengine kwamba itafanyika hivi, mupende msipende, itafanyika sijui siku gani, mupende msipende. Hiyo lugha ya mupende msipende, jameni, pelekeni kwingine. Kenya ni nchi ya demokrasia, kila mwananchi atapatiwa nafasi maoni yake isikike.
Najua nyinyi watu wa sana hapa Israel ni watu wa ajabu. Natembeanga hapa naona Mkikuyu anapika githeri kwa barabara, Mjaruo anapika samaki, Mkaba anapika mudhokoi, mnanunua ya huyu na huyu na huyu na familia inakula. So me, I don't think you need BBI hapa, sababu already you practice BBI.
By preaching hate and conflict during BBI mazungumzo, Your Excellency, it is important that we remind Kenyans that this nation belongs to God. This nation does not belong to the politicians.
Your Excellency, hiyo bus ina break, inaendeshwa na mtu ya rege, sisi kuingia huko tutakuwa na shida. Mutaingia hiyo basi nyinyi? Tena anatuambia jana ati lazima hii maneno tumalize mwezi ya 3 tuende referendum. Nyinyi mmesoma BBI? Kwani tutaunga kitu mkono kitu hatujui? There is no BBI we can support when we don't know what it is.
Na mimi nauliza swali moja. If BBI could not unite Moses Kuria and Charity Ngilo in Kitui Rally so that they can share a podium peacefully, how will it unite 50 million Kenyans?
Hii mambo ingine yote tunaambiwa hatuna haraka. Ati BBI lazima tupige kura mwezi wa pili, mwezi wa 3. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Sisi tunasema kwanza tutafunzwa vizuri, watu wa Kenya wajue BBI ni nini iko ndani, alafu ndio tutakubaliana kama tunaenda referendum ama atuende.
Now, in other news, Deputy President William Ruto has distanced himself over the alleged 39 billion military firearms scandal touching his office and the former Sports Cabinet Secretary, that is Rashid Chesa. In a hard-hitting response through his Twitter handle, DP Ruto faulted his opponents of sponsoring media to malign his name. This comes even as Saboti Member of Parliament Caleb Amisi now wants the DP to resign due to the alleged involvement in the firearms scandal. Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu has also asked Deputy President William Ruto to stop deceiving Kenyans through his social media platform and step aside.
The alleged 39 billion Kenyan shillings military firearms scandal involving the former Sports Cabinet Secretary Rashid Chesa Mohammed and the office of the Deputy President William Ruto has now opened a political war of words. Just a day after Ruto's opponents led by the ODM leader Raila Odinga and the SIA Senator James Orengo questioned the Deputy President William Ruto about the alleged dubious business at his office.
I think it is becoming apparent that his office, as somebody said, is supposed to be cordoned off as a crime scene, because it is not a coincidence that everything negative, everything corruption, everything that bedevils this country revolves around his office. It's not the first time we've had a similar case of people using his office. We've heard the other time about the laptops, and now this one.
Ruto in a quick rejoinder hit back at his opponent, claiming if the scandal is politically motivated. Through his Twitter account, Deputy President William Ruto defended his office, saying, and I quote, "The office of the Deputy President does not procure for any ministry or department. Question, other than 23 minutes in annex 4 months ago, which government officers involved in the tender did the scammers visit? Did they access the DOD? Who facilitated? Who did they meet? Get the truth. Forget about the sponsored nonsense in the media."
What he should be doing, he should not be defending his office. He should actually be asking for investigation to be sped up. He should be asking his officers. He should have called for an urgent official meeting of his officers. But as a matter of responsibility, if I was him, I just resign.
On Friday, the Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Law Court ordered the DCI to probe the house of Rashid Chesa, the key suspect in the syndicate. Rashid Chesa, who was grilled before being arraigned at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Law Court, is said to have used the office of the DP and the signature of the Defense Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Monica Juma to cut a fraudulent multi-billion Kenyan shillings deal. However, the former CS says the move to arrest him was politically instigated.
My friend, if you look at the inventory of the police, there is nothing which was recovered in my vehicle. Sure. My arrest has been politically instigated, and this is pure politics. Yeah? So, but Kenyans now can see what is happening. People are using our police officers in a bad way. Yeah? You arrest someone without even offense, then you peddle lies. There's nobody who is complaining that I have obtained money from them. No one. True.
Rashid Chesa is spending the weekend in the police cells at the Muthaiga police station as the DCI concludes the initial part of the probe by Monday. Reporting for Ebro TV, I'm Jeff Khaemba.
To education matters now, Fafi Member of Parliament Abdikarim Osman is calling upon the national government to facilitate the return of all teachers who fled from northeastern due to insecurity, as the state of normalcy has since returned and security restored. Mr. Osman said that all Kenyans are free to work anywhere across the country, and it is the duty of the national government to ensure security for all public workers.
The MP was speaking at Momoni sub-county in Kitui, where he had accompanied the CS for Agriculture Peter Munya after a tour in his constituency in Garissa, said that Garissa residents were ready to cooperate with security agencies in restoring peace and fighting the Al-Shabaab militia, saying their children should not be made to suffer in the process.
Lakini tunajaribu kutatua hiyo tatizo kwa sasa na serikali, na tutaendelea kufanya kazi pamoja. Hii mambo ya Al-Shabaab unajua ilikuja Dusit, ilikuja Westgate, inaweza kuja kila mahali kila siku. Na mambo ya Al-Shabaab ni ideology, si mambo ya Wasomali pekee ndio Al-Shabaab. Kuna Wakamba Al-Shabaab, kuna Wakikuyu Al-Shabaab, kuna Waluya Al-Shabaab, kuna Wasungu, kuna Waarabu. Hii ni biashara inafanyika, si mambo dini. Sisi dini yetu haikubali kuua kabisa. Na tumekataa, Biblia imekataa, Qur'an imekataa.
Mwingi West MP Charles Nguna termed occurrences in northeastern as despicable, and the national government ought to act immediately to ensure learning continues uninterrupted in the region.
Please crack the whip and ensure everybody is given his freedom, fundamental freedom to work anywhere.
Mr. Nguna said that Kenyans are free to work in all parts of Kenya and their security must be assured.
Happening in northern eastern is embarrassing. Northern Kenya, it's embarrassing, totally embarrassing. It needs to be condemned by every Kenyan. There is freedom of movement. There is freedom to work anywhere in this country.
Juzi tumekaa na county governor yetu pamoja na waziri Matiang'i, pamoja na Kibichu, pamoja na Mtambei, Inspector General. Tumekubaliana tutengeneze hiyo area na tu clean hii Al-Shabaab na tutafanya kazi na pamoja.
He also urged the government to take stern action against any leader who might be inciting the locals against non-local teachers and hold them accountable in case any teacher faces any form of harm. Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Kaindo Stefano.
Still on the same, Interior and Coordination Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has announced to deal with the Al-Shabaab terrorist group causing havoc in the education sector in the northeastern part of Kenya. While addressing the concerns raised by leaders from the region in a Thanksgiving ceremony for the Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani, Matiang'i said he will engage with Teachers Service Commission in resolving the non-local teachers standoff.
Learning still remains paralyzed in most parts of the northeastern part of Kenya. This follows the move by the Teachers Service Commission (TSC) to transfer the non-local teachers from the hostel region, a decision that has sparked public outcry led by the political class.
Tutakuwa tumesarenda kwa Al-Shabaab kama walimu hapana rudishwa haraka uwezekanavyo. Si kawaida yangu mimi kuzungumza kwa ukali, lakini nasikia uchungu. Kama watoto wetu hawasomi, kesho wakienda Al-Shabaab tutalaumiwa sisi.
When she told the teachers to come back, she said, "You come back to Kenya." How do you talk like that? And you are a very senior person in government. That one is discriminative, and that lady should withdraw the remarks and also repost the teachers back. Actually,
the leaders during a Thanksgiving ceremony held in Nairobi in honor of President Uhuru Kenyatta for appointing Ukur Yatani as the first Treasury Cabinet Secretary from the region requested the government to resolve the learning standoff.
Today, as I stand here, my constituency, which is over 300-400 kilometers away from the Kenya-Somali border, all the schools are closed simply because of our perception. We really want you to intervene, because there is a crisis, a serious crisis that is being manufactured, because without the schools, you know what we are doing.
Niko tayari nikipewa bunduki kuenda kupigana na Al-Shabaab pahali wapo. Tupewe bunduki sisi.
Why should teachers from Garissa town, from Mandera town, Wajir town, and towns very far from the border being removed by TSC? TSC has become a law unto itself, and we want the government to intervene. We have almost decided now. We'll go it alone. We'll tell our governors to break all the laws and employ teachers so that you know.
The Teachers Service Commission last month transferred more than 3,000 non-local teachers from Wajir, Mandera and Garissa counties following a terror attacks targeting the tutors. While responding to their concerns, the Interior and the Coordination Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i assured the residents of a quick solution to bring learning back to normalcy.
I promise you that with my colleague Professor Magawa, we will go into this issue immediately. We will bring our colleagues from the TSC so that we come to a solution on this matter. It's an issue we need to resolve together. And these people are hiding behind Islam, they're hiding behind this. Al-Shabaab has nothing to do with Muslims, it has nothing to do with the Somalis. This is a group of criminals And criminals have got only one identity. Criminals. They don't belong to a tribe, they don't belong to a religion. And we will pound them and smoke them out wherever they are. And we will do.
Fred Matiang'i, flanked by 10 other cabinet secretaries, vowed to deal with the Al-Shabaab militants causing insecurity in the region, which led to the massive transfer of the teachers. The Northeastern governors will on Tuesday sue the Teacher Service Commission for transferring all the non-local teachers from the region. Besides thanking the head of state Uhuru Kenyatta for the appointment of the CS Ukuriatani, the leaders voted to work with the Jubilee government and even supporting the BBA project. Reporting for Ebro TV, I'm Jeff Khaemba.
Now, the number of new cases from China's coronavirus epidemic has dropped for a third consecutive day today, more than 3 weeks after the outbreak epicenter was locked down. This is as the World Health Organization Director General Tedros calls on the global leaders to stop quote-unquote stigma and hate amid coronavirus epidemic.
Global concern remains high about the spread of the virus, which first emerged in China's central Hubei province in December, with the first death in Africa reported in Egypt this weekend. The National Health Commission has reported 2,009 cases, down from 2,641 the previous day, and 142 new deaths, just one lower than the 143 the previous day. In hardest hit Hubei, the number of new cases slowed for a third consecutive day, and at 139, the number of deaths was level with Saturday's toll. The province and its capital, Wuhan, have been virtually sealed off and locked down since January 23rd, with schools, offices and factories shut and most travel suspended. The virus is believed to have an incubation period of 14 days, which would appear to indicate it has been spreading since the lockdown was imposed. The outbreak of the virus has seen cases of stigma and hate. During an address at the Munich Security Conference, WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus called on global leaders not to politicize the deadly outbreak.
Outbreaks can bring serious upheavals, serious consequences to the world. It's not just a health security issue, or it's not a matter of somebody sick or the number of people who are dead. It's a matter of political, social, and economic upheavals. It can affect all areas of society. And that's why we have to take it seriously. The world, when it talks about terrorism, and imagine the level of preparation and so on, is immense. To be honest, a virus is more powerful in creating political, economic, and social upheaval than any terrorist attack, believe it or not.
His comments come on the heels of reports from around the world that people of Asian descent have faced discrimination in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. The flu-like virus, now named COVID-19, has killed more than 1,500 people and sickened more than 66,400 people worldwide. Winnie Lubembe for Ebro TV.
Kenya has appointed a consultant to assess the damage desert locusts have caused since the invasion began about 3 months ago. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary, that is Peter Munya, announced this when he came face-to-face with a fresh swarm in the expansive and arid Mbere part of Embu County, accompanied by Area Member of Parliament Muriuki Njagagwa. The CS said the consultant and a team of experts are soon to be dispatched to the affected counties to carry out rapid assessments.
Speaking at Kalatine village in Mumoni Ward, Mwingi North Sub-County in Kitui, during his tour while assessing the situation on the ground, CS Munya assured residents that the government has put in place measures to control the locust menace. CS Munya said that his ministry has changed tact and now they are targeting nymphs which might hatch into 2 or 3 weeks from now, as the locusts are said to be breeding in various areas in Kitui.
Kwa hivyo hizo ndizo tunaogopa. Zile tunaogopa pia ni zile zitatazaliwa sasa kwa zile siku huku ndani. Si mtu akizaa anazaa mtoto mmoja, mara mingi unazaa wengi, si ndio? Sasa nzige wanazaa wengi zaidi kwa sababu wao ni mayai, wanatoa mayai na sasa tunaweza kuwa tukikaa tu namna hii tupate swarm zingine zile zimetoka hapa. Asubuhi tuamke tuone swamp zimekaa huku juu, na hizo hazijatoka Yemen, zimetoka wapi? Hapa.
He said that the government will also deploy 150 NYS officers among 500 which the government is training to combat the locust menace. The officers are now undergoing training at Yata NYS Center.
Sasa hiyo ndio kazi tunataka tufanye vyema kabisa. Timu yetu national coordinate na nyinyi tulikuwa na changamoto ya kupata chemicals, lakini tumepata kidogo, ile tumewagawia saa hii hapa, na ingine iko kwa meli inakuja, na hata ingine tumeona iko jiani pia italetwa. Kwa hivyo sasa hatutakuwa na hiyo changamoto. Kwa hivyo strategy yetu sasa ni kubadilisha, sio mambo ya hewa sasa.
He confirmed that 1,200 liters of pesticides had already been delivered to the county as part of the concerted efforts by the national government, county government of Garissa, county government of Kitui, and UN Food and Agricultural Organization FAO to contain the infestation of the virulent locusts. Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu called upon residents to communicate with the administration officers when they spot the locusts to ease the spraying of the hatched locusts.
Nilikwambia toka ofisi ukaenda kwa kichaka na njizo zinge, kitu itashinda serikali kuu na serikali ya kaunti. Tutashikana pamoja na nyinyi wananchi na tutamaliza na hii kitu. Tutamenyana na hii kitu ili mwana tusindwe.
She assured the residents that the chemical being used will not affect other insects like bees, which are beneficial. Busara Naman for Every TV.
Now to one of our neighboring countries, South Sudan rebels have rejected a government peace offer to return to a system of 10 states, dashing hopes of ending a 6-year war that has left 380,000 dead. President Salva Kiir had said he would compromise by cutting the current 32 regional states back down to the original 10, a key rebel demand to pave way for the unity government. Kiir also included one of the top 10 three administrative areas of Pibor, Ruweng and Abyei.
Rebel Chief Riek Machar said he opposed those three areas, saying it cannot be referred to as reverting to 10 states and as such cannot be accepted. He warned the three areas risked causing further problems, calling the issue a Pandora's box. Kiir and Machar, who live in exile, are under increasing international pressure to resolve their differences before a February 22nd deadline. Machar has repeatedly said he could not return to his old job as vice president if country's structure of states did not return to its original form. The number of states is contentious because the borders will determine the divisions of power in the country. When it gained independence from Sudan in 2011, South Sudan had 10 states as set out in its constitution. Kiir increased that in 2015 to 28, then 32, and has now reduced them back to 10, plus the three areas. He issued an order late Saturday relieving all governors of the 32 states of their posts, saying the final matter of states would be debated once the unity government forms. Of the three areas, the most contentious is thought to be oil-rich Ruweng in the north. Oil provides almost all of the government's revenue in South Sudan, one of the world's most oil-dependent nations. Ruweng has been one of the most heavily fought-over areas in the civil war and is claimed by both Dinka people of Kiir and the Nuer of Machar. Abyei, another of the three areas, is a border zone contested with neighboring Sudan. Pibor lies in the eastern Jonglei region, an area long troubled by militias and rebels fighting over local grievances. Kiir and Machar are old rivals who have fought and made up multiple times. Their latest agreement came when they signed a peace deal in September 2018, pausing the bloodshed that erupted in 2013 when the president accused his former deputy of plotting a coup. The eight-nation East African Bloc of Nations, IGAD, warned last week that any extension beyond February 22nd was neither desirable nor feasible.
To the States now, where President Donald Trump downplayed Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte's notice to terminate the Visiting Forces Agreement, a decades-old pact that allows American forces to train in the country. Trump said the termination will save the U.S. a lot of money.
For decades, American and Filipino soldiers have trained together under the 1999 Visiting Forces Agreement. President Donald Trump said the U.S. has been instrumental in helping the Philippines fight the Islamic State terror group, but dismissed Manila's notice to terminate the VFA, saying the move will save the U.S. a lot of money.
And my relationship, as you know, is a very good one with their leader, and we'll see what happens. They'll have to tell me that.
Trump's statement contradicts his Secretary of Defense, who says the VFA termination runs counter to efforts urging China to abide by international norms in the region. Earlier this week, Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte made the announcement after criticizing Washington's reported decision to cancel the U.S. visa of his former national police chief. The former police official enforced Duterte's war on drugs, which killed thousands and is condemned by human rights groups.
Trump and others are trying to save the Visiting Forces Agreement. I said I did not want it. The Americans are very rude. One is that napakabastos ng Amerikano.
Unless a new deal is reached, the VFA will terminate in 6 months. While many within the security establishment in Manila and Washington want to maintain the pact, resistance from both leaders may make it difficult.
Rodrigo Duterte hates the Americans, wants to align the Philippines with China, and has been saying that the Visiting Forces Agreement should go for decades. Donald Trump despises alliances in general, thinks they're a waste of money, and just said that he doesn't care if an alliance ends. All of that is very consistent.
The Philippines is the oldest U.S. treaty ally in the Pacific, older even than the Japanese and Korean alliance.
If the narrative becomes that the Philippines walked away because they saw the Americans as a paper tiger, then that becomes self-reinforcing. It starts to raise questions about U.S. credibility throughout the region. The second, maybe more immediate impact is that it really empowers China to do whatever it wants in the South China Sea, because without access to the Philippines, the closest U.S. ground-based military power is 1,300 nautical miles away in Okinawa. That is hardly an effective deterrent.
Analysts say that not having American troops in the Philippines may hamper intelligence gathering and counter-terror operations, and could mean a slower American response to help the region deal with natural disasters.
Now let's come back to the country and dive into the world of sports. Aspirants from Makueni, Nyandarua, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Muranga, Kiambu, Turkana and West Pokot have submitted their nomination papers to the FKF Electoral Board ahead of the upcoming repeat FKF election. The aspirants had their relevant documents scrutinized by the board's secretariat, after which acknowledgement slips were handed to those who passed eligibly criteria as stipulated in the Electoral Code. Now, among the candidates who submitted their documents are Southern Branch Secretary General Samuel Mongela, who will be contesting the chairperson's position in Makueni County. The deadline for the submission of a relevant document is on Tuesday, February 18th, 2020, after which the board will publish a preliminary list of candidates on February 21st, 2020. County elections have been scheduled for Saturday, March 14th, with the national election slated for Friday, March 27th, 2020.
Unajua Kenya ni nchi ya sheria na lazima sheria zifuatwe, na kwa sababu wakati wa kwanza tulifanya hizo election na tukasemekana kwamba kuna mahali tulikuwa tumekosea na tukarudia. Kwa hivyo kurudia election sio mbaya, bora kila kitu iende kulingana na katiba ya Kenya, katiba ya federation yetu vile inasema. Si criticize mpira ukiwa nje na utai kuja. Kwa hivyo la yuko ako kando na anaona kama kuna vizuizi katika electoral board iko sawa. Electoral board tuliambiwa tubadilishe, ikabadilisha ikakuwa sawa. Kwa hivyo kila mtu akuje apeleke makaratasi zake, awanie asimamie mpira, si mtu aongee kando watu wakishachaguliwa, kwa sababu ule atakuja ataleta karatasi achaguliwe, itabidi saa ukienda pale chini umtii, kwa sababu lakini uko unataka kuja usimamie, electoral board iko sawa, makarani wako sawa, service iko sawa. Kwa hivyo
6 out of 9 rounds of 32 matches of the FKF Betway Cup 2020 witnessed penalty shootouts, the highlight being at Camp Toyoyo, where Posta Rangers and Sofapaka faced an upheld task. Sofapaka played a barren stalemate against Balaji EPZ only to win the match in the resultant shootout. Earlier on at the same venue, Bidco United had eased past Jericho Revelation 2-1 and will now face off the Fortune Sacco, who also needed shootout to dump out Division 1 League side Asad in Ukunda. Kisumu All-Stars, FC Talanta and Ushuru were also forced into penalties, where they went through at the expense of Nyabururu, Sportfik, Zitek Titans and Transfork respectively.
Nisikia poa, ni exposure poa kwao. This is the first time wana meet team ya Premier League.
So me myself niko encouraged na development yao na hope tu anaenda far. So you lose kwetu ni lesson kubwa sana. Kwetu ni lesson na tutai-take from that place.
This one was a tight one. I never expected this from Balaji, even though we knew it will come at us because they are playing a top team compared to them. So we knew they will come at us, but not the way I've seen. They really played their heart out.
All cross-country bronze medalist Geoffrey Kamworor and the newly crowned national champion Sheila Chelangat will not represent Kenya at the Africa Cross-Country Championship to be held in April 8th in Lom, Togo. The duo sealed their spots in the national team on Saturday at the national championship held at Ngong Race Course. However, the two athletes of Kenya Police Service have opted out of the team of 40 athletes announced by Athletics Kenya for the biennial Continental Championship, while Kamworor is set to defend his World Half Marathon title on match in Poland. Chelangat is scheduled to compete in a road race also slated for April in Spain. That brings us to the end of our bulletin this evening, and thank you to the team behind the gallery that has made this bulletin possible and here in the studio. My name is Abdiaziz. We bid you a good evening.